Mayor Olivia Chow raising concerns about federal cuts to refugee supports in the city, saying Toronto is now facing a major projected shortfall. Good afternoon. We'll get to that story in a moment, but first, Toronto police are investigating suspected arson in Scarborough.
3 vehicles were set on fire, including one tow truck in a plaza overnight. CTV's Janice Golding is live at the scene this afternoon with the latest. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, well, Toronto police left the scene about an hour ago. However, the vehicles in question are still in a back lot here on Birchmount. And we're told that emergency crews were called to the scene, which is at 1500 Birchmount near Ellesmere at around 1 a.m. And when they arrived, they found 3 vehicles engulfed in flames. 2 of them are tow trucks. The one in the middle, however, is owned by a landscaping company. All of this in the rear of a private school here in Scarborough. Now, firefighters quickly managed to put out the blaze before it spread any further. Investigators are calling the incident suspicious, and forensic investigators were on scene this morning. No injuries were reported, and the school was not occupied at the time of the overnight blaze. Now, at this point, Toronto police have not provided any information as to motives or possible suspects. CTV News did reach out to the tow truck company in question, but did not receive a response. Reporting live from Janice Golding, now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Now to City Hall, as Mayor Olivia Chow raises concerns about a funding shortfall linked to federal support for refugee housing. The mayor outlined her concerns in a letter to colleagues that was obtained by More in the Morning and News Talk 1010. It reads in part that the city has received notification that Ottawa has, quote, arbitrarily decided to pay only 26% of what Toronto is projected to pay this year to shelter refugees and asylum seekers. The mayor says that's led to a projected $107 million shortfall this year, equivalent to a more than 2% property tax increase. Mayor Chow said Toronto is accommodating more than 3,500 refugee claimants each night, and the city and province can't shoulder the cost of what is a federal responsibility. The mayor wrapped up her letter saying, once again, let's work together to give a good start in Canada for those who are fleeing war, famine, and persecution, and get the message out that the federal government must not walk away from their responsibility to provide the funds to do so. Ottawa says funding requests have exceeded funds allocated to its interim housing assistance program, but is committed to working with other governments to support asylum claimants effectively.
It was another frustrating morning for subway commuters on the TTC's Line 1. In the latest, in a stretch of recent rush hour disruptions, there was no service between Bloor, Yonge and Union stations while crews addressed a mechanical problem. Word went out around 9 a.m. and riders were advised to take alternate routes until service resumed about an hour later.
Still ahead on CTV News at noon, a homeowner who was criminally charged after allegedly defending his home against an intruder is prompting a wider discussion about people's right to defend themselves. That story coming up a little later in the newscast.
But first, let's take a live look at the city this afternoon. Ooh, we're looking at the X, underway for yet another summer day, and the weather is sure cooperating for anyone heading there or beyond today. We've got the sunshine. We've got comfortable temperatures, not too hot. Let's bring in our Jessica Smith for all the specifics on this Thursday. Jess.
It's finally a little nicer outside. We had a bit of a cool down recently, and it felt so shocking because it's been such a hot summer. Very seasonal today, so if you're heading down to the CNE, you kind of have the perfect forecast to spend some time outside. A little light cloud cover right now, but overall comfortable for being outside. Still a hint of a humidex as we head throughout our afternoon. Right now, we're sitting, for the most part, in the upper teens, low 20s. Again, still that hint of a humidex out there and a very light northeasterly or easterly wind off and on throughout the day. So comfortable for getting outside, but still a higher UV index. The sun really comes out later on this afternoon. Temperature-wise, through the islands and Pearson, we're at 22 apiece, feeling like 26. A little breezy the further kind of west you go, but overall still a very manageable start to our day. As we head into the afternoon, more brilliant sunshine out there. That's when that UV index really starts to climb, and we'll see it kind of in a higher range at an 8. So yes, get out. We're in those kind of, final days of the summer season, so to speak, but you got to do it safely. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We'll take a little peek at the weekend and what you can expect. But right now, I'll send things back over to Nathan.
Thank you, Jessica. A man in his 40s has died after being pulled from an indoor pool yesterday in Scarborough. Police and paramedics responded to a drowning call at a building on Mondeo Drive near Birchmount and Ellesmere around 5:30 p.m. Police say the man was reported to be unresponsive and was transported to hospital in critical condition, where he later died.
Police are investigating after a truck crashed into a building downtown. Emergency crews responding to the Bathurst and Bloor area just after 2:30 a.m. The vehicle, you can see, ended up in a magic mushroom dispensary, but no injuries have been reported. Police say the driver fled the area. Toronto Fire tells CP24 a gas line was damaged and crews remain as they make repairs. Now, the vehicle was towed away from the scene just after 5:30 this morning. Witnesses or anyone who might have some information are asked to call police. Flights are slowly resuming after striking flight attendants, and Air Canada struck a tentative deal. Now, some customers in the midst of all of this had to scramble to try to find a way home, and in some cases they've had to shell out a lot of money on other carriers. CTV's Kamal Karmali joins us now with the very latest on the situation. And what can you tell us at this point about this agreement between the airline and the flight attendants?
Look, Michelle, I've spoken to a few flight attendants who say this agreement, this tentative deal, is a step in the right direction, but is far from what they were hoping for, and are hoping that this is just the beginning of what they call is fair wages and fair pay. So what we know so far of this tentative agreement is that it would offer flight attendants who have worked for Air Canada for 5 years or less a 12% pay bump. And for those who have worked 5 years or more, it will offer an 8% wage increase. In the second year, that will go up 3%. Third year, it will go up 2.5%. And in the final year of this tentative agreement, in its fourth year, there will be a 2.75% wage increase. Now, ground pay was a key sticking point in the negotiations. Ground pay being what flight attendants get paid while the plane is on the apron, not in the air. Before this, it was unpaid time for that responsibility and those duties. But now what the airline is offering in this tentative agreement is 60 minutes to 70 minutes, depending on the size of the plane, of work done will be paid on either side, before takeoff and after landing. But it won't be at 100%. It will start off at 50% of the hourly wage. Once again, 60 minutes to 70 minutes on either side of takeoff and landing, and it will be 60% in 2026, 65% in 27, and then 70% of the hourly rate in the final year of this agreement. So, Michelle, as you can imagine, not 100% pay, not what flight attendants were fighting for, but I've heard from them, they're saying it's a step in the right direction.
What do they often say about good deals? They leave both sides equally unhappy.
That's true.
Let's talk about the other factor in all of this, and this is the travelers. Some still are trying to get home after all the chaos the multiple day strike caused. What can you tell us about the process for people getting a refund now?
Well, let's start off with the good news, because let's be honest, we could use a little bit of good news right now. So flights are almost back to 100%, according to Air Canada and flight trackers, showing about almost a 99% back to operations, back to normal operations for U.S. flights, and about 97% for domestic flights. So that's the good news. The bad news is they're still seeing a ripple effect in terms of trying to reschedule some of those flights that were canceled. And then when it comes to refunds, Michelle, we're hearing that a lot of people can go on the Air Canada website. Air Canada has said they're offering 100% refund for those canceled flights. But the issue here is it doesn't include things like airplane points, flights booked with airplane points. We know a lot of people do that, as well as flights booked through travel agencies, for example. So there's a lot of caveats there that people are pushing back on. Once again, more than 500,000 people affected by these cancellations. And it's not just people trying to get refunds on flights through airplane points or through travel agencies, but people who missed weddings, people who missed family vacations and had to pay non-refundable costs for hotels and excursions. They're fighting for those, some of them also in possibly in court, as we've also heard of at least one class action lawsuit being set up against Air Canada here.
It's quite an undertaking, sorting all of this out. CTV's Kamal Karmali in the CTV National Newsroom. Appreciate the update.
You're welcome.
And as Air Canada flight attendants consider their tentative deal, Canada Post and union representatives returned to the bargaining table Wednesday. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers also presented updated offers to the Crown Corporation. They call for larger wage hikes and the addition of weekend delivery and part-time workers to the service. The union rejected the employer's last offer in a direct vote this month. Canada Post says it's reviewing the offers and it's committed to reaching new collective agreements through the bargaining process. The Kawartha Lakes Police Service is facing criticism for its decision to lay charges against a 44-year-old homeowner after an intruder was left with life-threatening injuries.
This story is striking a chord with people, prompting a wider discussion about people's ability to defend themselves in their own homes. Here's CTV's Beth McDonnell with more.
The Kawartha Lakes Police Service is facing public backlash for charging a homeowner with assault during a break and enter.
You've got to do what you got to do to stop it. And, you know, the police shouldn't be making rash decisions on whether to charge somebody or not.
Early Monday around 3:20 in the morning, officers say a 44-year-old homeowner in his Lindsay apartment was awoken by an intruder, a 41-year-old man. There was an altercation. The intruder was rushed to hospital with serious life-threatening injuries, then airlifted to Toronto for care. Police charged the homeowner with aggravated assault and assault with a weapon.
Straighten this out, because this is wrong. You should be able to take care of yourself if you can.
The intruder, who was also previously wanted by police, was also charged with possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, along with break, enter, and theft. But the fact the homeowner is facing criminal consequences in the case has the Premier speaking out.
Something is broken. I know if someone breaks into my house or someone else's, you're going to fight for your life. This guy has a weapon. You're going to use any force you possibly can to protect your family.
Police are defending charging the homeowner, saying in a statement, under Canadian law, individuals have the right to defend themselves and their property. The Criminal Code of Canada, specifically sections 34 and 35, allow a person to use reasonable force to protect themselves and their property if they believe they are facing a threat. However, it is important to understand that these rights are not unlimited in Canada. The law requires that any defensive action be proportionate to the threat. This means that while homeowners do have the right to protect themselves and their property, the use of force must be reasonable given the circumstances.
We really need to know the details of what happened inside that home.
Criminal lawyer Joseph Newberger says he believes the police would be careful in laying the charge against the homeowner, but understands why it is concerning for the public, and adds it's important to have confidence in the existing systems.
In the United States, let me just draw this distinction. They have the castle law. So you can use pretty much any force you need to protect your home from an intruder. We don't have that in Canada. But we do have sufficient self-defense laws that are broad enough that if an individual comes in with a knife or a gun and you are at serious risk of bodily harm or death, you can respond with lethal force.
Police are calling negative commentary about the officers and their actions unjust and inaccurate, and say the investigators were able to examine all the information and evidence that was available before laying charges. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
2 truck drivers authorities say were instrumental in bringing huge amounts of cocaine into Canada on behalf of accused drug kingpin Ryan Wedding intend to plead guilty in an American court.
As CTV's John Woodward reports, there's a sign the pleas could make life tougher for their fugitive former boss.
At the Port Huron border crossing 1 year ago, American Customs and Border Protection officers pulled over a truck headed to Canada. American court documents say an X-ray revealed this compartment hidden in the rear of the trailer, as well as tools that matched its screws and bolts. Inside, cocaine wrapped in cellophane, 115 bricks with a net weight of 124 kilograms. The officers estimated it was worth $3.75 million.
124 kilograms is a lot of drugs. Somebody's losing a lot of money there.
American authorities say the 2 alleged Canadian truck drivers, Iqbal Singh Virk and Ranjit Singh Rowell, were part of a sprawling drug trafficking network run by Ryan Wedding. That's the former Canadian snowboarder who competed in the Olympic Games in Salt Lake City in 2002. The FBI says he became a kingpin, moving 1,800 kilograms of cocaine from Colombia through Mexico to the U.S. and Canada. His alleged partner, Andrew Clark, was arrested in Mexico last year. Wedding is still on the run. The FBI put Wedding on their top 10 wanted list.
He chose to become a major drug trafficker, and he chose to become a killer.
Canadian law enforcement believe Wedding is connected to at least 4 murders in Ontario, including a brazen shooting of a Caledon family. It turned out it was mistaken identity. That family was innocent. 2 others accused of running the Canadian distribution network for Wedding appeared in a Toronto court Wednesday. The Americans are seeking their extradition, and another man accused of being a cocaine courier has already consented to going south of the border. Documents say the truck drivers intend to plead guilty in California to charges with a maximum sentence of life, but they may get a deal.
And if these folks are testifying against Wedding or other higher-ups, that's going to help the investigation immensely. And I would presume that's exactly what we're seeing here.
Cooperation like that, as well as a $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest, could be pulling the web around Wedding even tighter. John Woodward, CTV News.
Next to the problem of Toronto trash and the tough task of cleaning it all up.
As CTV's Natalie Johnson reports, just like the garbage, 311 complaints about it have been piling up.
It's the morning after collection day on the Danforth, and city crews are out with bag and broom, sweeping the streets and trying to tackle all of the trash that can tarnish Toronto.
It used to be a lot cleaner city.
We don't feel like nice, clean, neat, not neat like before.
A lot of people that just don't care so much anymore, and they're throwing garbage out on the side.
These toter bins were all emptied overnight, but there was a lot in the way of leftover litter on the street.
Sometimes the wind picks up at night and blows the garbage around, so we like to get there first thing in the morning to ensure that we're collecting that waste.
Waste that more and more residents are reporting to 311. The latest data show a 25% increase in cleanliness complaints related to overflowing litter bins year over year. More than 2,100 service requests for full street litter bins, more than 2,000 complaints logged about sidewalk litter, and more than 6,500 reports of illegal dumping on city roads.
It's a challenge for the city. You know, we have our street litter bins, but when there's household waste that is, you know, jammed into the bins, that's not what they're designed for, and so they can overflow very quickly.
The city has been rolling out this redesigned version of the street litter bin with wider openings to reduce the amount of overflow when a resident reports a full street litter bin to 311. The service standard for a crew to come and clear it is 24 hours. The city has added afternoon shift crews to address the problem, in addition to Saturday cleaning blitzes for areas in need of attention.
If you come in the weekend, you know, everywhere is the garbage.
But residents like Kokon Abbas, a community leader in the Banglatown stretch of the Danforth, say Toronto continues to have a problem with trash.
We are very upset. You know, they're paying more taxes but getting the less.
And so amid rising cleanliness complaints, crews are faced with the tough task of keeping on top of it all.
We have a good deal of resources in the peak times, but never enough, so we do really rely on the public and 311 service requests. That helps us target where we need to go.
Trying to tackle a problem that keeps piling up so that no one talks trash about Toronto's streets. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
Now to the massive storm threatening parts of the U.S. East Coast. Hurricane Erin is packing strong winds and massive waves. CTV's Scott Hurst is standing by with the very latest on this. Scott, where is this hurricane at right now?
Good afternoon, Nathan. It's been lashing North Carolina, and there are warnings in effect for Virginia and Maryland. It is still a Category 2 storm, so it is packing quite a punch. However, it is not going to make landfall. Specifically, as you look at the track right here, it's expected to stay out in open water, but it is a huge storm with tropical storm force winds extending for several hundred kilometers from its center, and that is why it's causing so much concern up and down the U.S. eastern seaboard, with coastal flooding continuing along portions of North Carolina and the mid-Atlantic coast, and there are warnings along most U.S. East Coast beaches due to life-threatening surf and rip currents. So now the hurricane is forecast to keep its strength through the afternoon before it likely gets downgraded and losing steam, moving further north and hooking east, as I mentioned, staying out in open water, and will really wrap around the southern tip of the Atlantic provinces over the next few days, Nathan.
And what about the impact? What might this storm have on Atlantic Canada.
So as I mentioned, it is staying out in open water, so it won't go across land, but there are gale force winds that are possible along the coast of Nova Scotia on Friday and into the Avalon Peninsula of Newfoundland on Saturday. So the storm is not only being tracked by forecasters and those who track storms for a living, but also by wildfire officials. And this is kind of a rare occurrence where wildfire officials in the Atlantic provinces, particularly Nova Scotia, because of the threat of winds that is coming with Hurricane Erin, they have to watch out for how that might impact the firefight, because there are still wildfires burning in the Atlantic provinces. There's still a large fire in Nova Scotia, the Long Lake Fire, burning in the West Dalhousie area, more than 32 square kilometers. And so wildfire officials have the unique challenge right now of battling a wildfire, but also monitoring a hurricane, as those winds have the potential to fan the flames and make conditions even worse and potentially even more dangerous for wildfire crews, Nathan.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister met with her American counterpart in person today for the first time. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio welcomed Anita Anand in Washington this morning. Her visit comes weeks after the United States boosted tariffs on Canada to 35%. They do not apply to goods compliant with the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement, but Canada is also subject to tariffs on steel, aluminum, copper, and autos. Anand and Rubio have spoken by phone, but this was their first face-to-face meeting.
Israel's prime minister will reportedly convene a meeting today to approve operational plans for a planned offensive in Gaza City. Thousands of people have left their homes in the city as Israeli forces have escalated shelling on 2 neighborhoods. Residents say Israel maintained its pressure on the city with heavy bombardments overnight. Yesterday, the Israelis called up 60,000 reservists in a sign that it is proceeding with the plan despite international condemnation. The Gaza Health Ministry said at least 70 people had been killed by the Israeli military in the Palestinian territory in the past 24 hours.
1 person was killed, 15 others injured, in what Ukraine says was one of Russia's biggest aerial attacks of the year. The Ukrainian Air Force says more than 570 drones and 40 missiles were fired overnight, mostly at western regions of the country, where much of the military aid provided by Ukraine's western allies is believed to be delivered and stored. The strikes occurred during a renewed U.S.-led effort to reach a peace settlement. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the overnight attack, saying it was carried out as if nothing were changing at all.
In Ottawa, a man trapped in mud was rescued after crews pinpointed his location using GPS.
We were very lucky that this caller had a cell phone that could map where he was exactly. There were no landmarks around, no buildings, nothing to pinpoint exactly where he was.
The man was trapped waist deep in a muddy bog just outside of the city. When he called 911 for help, dispatch was able to use the technology in his phone to track his coordinates, and crews used a tablet to find the location.
1 scoop or 2, it didn't really matter, to a surprise visitor at a California ice cream shop. Police found a bear behind the counter in South Lake Tahoe on Sunday. Deputies say the animal appeared particularly interested in the strawberry ice cream, but it didn't really seem like it wanted to share it all. The bear actually didn't cause much damage, eventually left. But this is not the first time ice cream stealing bear visit to the city. Back in May, there was another one that ran off with 3 gallons of chocolate chip cookie dough from a different parlor.
Sweet tooth.
Whew, sweet tooth indeed. Very good. Okay, so excitement here at home is building because for fans of Oasis, this Brit band set to take the stage at the brand new Rogers Stadium this weekend.
Ahead of the highly anticipated concerts, fans are getting their hands on band merch at an official pop store today. CTV Sean Lee Thong is live at the pop-up with more on this. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, Michelle. So we got a good time right now because they're in between moving people in and out. But I'll show you some of the stuff they have at this pop-up on Queen Street West. Now, you have some of the regular merchandise. They have mugs over here that you can buy. Everything you can think of under the sun. But I mean, if you're an Oasis fan, it's probably more of a shot glass. That's what you want. But the biggest items that we're seeing, the most valuable items and the ones that people are coming for, follow me this way. Now, these are the Oasis Adidas merchandise. You can see every time a new shift of people come inside here, they're going right for this and they're flying off the shelves. But there's a lot of things to buy in this store. And I'll show you outside. We have some video of the lineup. The lineup is around the block for this place. It opened at 11 o'clock this morning. Some people were here as early as 7:30. And then when the doors finally opened, they stormed in here. People were grabbing as much merchandise as they possibly could. It's much different than just grabbing a shirt for yourself or maybe a hat for yourself and then moving on. People were buying for themselves. They were buying for other people. And the anticipation is huge for these two concerts that are coming up at Rogers Stadium. The first one on Sunday, the next one on Monday. But the pop-up store here will be here for a few days longer. It'll be closing actually next Wednesday, so they get a full week. Now, I talked to a few people who were shopping about what they got, and here's what they had to say.
It feels amazing. I can't believe it. Yeah, it's amazing. Yay! This, you know, I'm trying to actually cosplay as Liam on Sunday, so I was trying to go as much of a dark fit as humanly possible. Bucket hat, must have. Parka, must have. I'll bring the attitude as well.
It feels very exciting. It feels like I'm going to be the coolest person I know, at least for today. That's all I want.
Can you give the rundown of what you got?
I grabbed everything I saw that looked cute. So I grabbed a black Oasis shirt, a white Oasis shirt, a black Oasis shirt, lots of fun stuff, tour program, posters. I need a bigger house, but it's fine. It's worth it.
And the prices are no joke. You can see here, some of the prices are a water bottle, $35, mug, $20, a shot glass is $16. Now, if we move all the way over here, the actual merchandising as far as clothing goes, hoodies, $120, premium hoodie, $130, premium sweatshirts, $115, and $75 for a vest. So you will have a good time if you come here, but bring your wallet. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leva.
Lots of money in your account.
Yeah, we were wondering about those prices. I mean, that's what happens with merch. Thank you, Sean.
$35 for a water bottle, Jess.
And you'll need to hydrate today, and it's a great day to wait in line if you're buying merchandise, because the forecast actually isn't that bad. It's not hot, it's not cold, it's just right. It's a very Goldilocks type of day. We're holding on to a daytime high in the 20s. We're much closer to seasonal as we head throughout your day. It was a little cool yesterday, just 21, but we are returning to those more traditional summer temperatures as we head in towards the rest of our day. Again, 24 this afternoon, feeling like 29. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast and a look ahead to the weekend if you're heading out to the concert.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. We've had a few cooler days, but it seems like the temperatures are kind of inching back up.
That's nice. And then when you have sunshine, I mean, we knew we wanted rain, but now we've got the sun for a few days heading into the weekend, which all these weekends are precious, and August is flying by, so bring on the sun.
I feel like if you weren't a fan of the really hot summer we've had, it felt like you've been wearing the heat like a backpack for most of the summer because it's been so heavy. You had a break the past couple of days. We're not getting that hot again, so if you don't like humidity, don't worry, but it is going to stay fairly seasonal over the next couple of days, so we're in a good place if you want to spend some time outside. There are outdoor festivals, concerts, football games, you name it, it's a busy summer, so the forecast very agreeable over the next few days. Weather is brought to you by Lee Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Now, a little cloudy outside this morning, not too bad, but if you were up early, you saw kind of that bit of a haze in the air, but we're overall doing pretty good here in the city of Toronto and the GTA. And you can see the sun peeking out, doing its very best. But as we head into the afternoon, early evening, we are holding on to a beautiful, very seasonal forecast. So these are the days you hope for as we kind of wrap up the end of the summer holidays for so many. Now, temperature-wise, again, we came off a bit of a cool down. A shock to the system for a lot of people, but we're back to where we should be. Right now, sitting at 22, feeling like 26. It's relatively seasonal and comfortable right across the province. Again, bit of a ridge in the jet stream, so everyone enjoying a bit of a warmer day, at least warmer than yesterday. As we head into the afternoon, 24, still feeling like 29, and we have a UV index on the higher side, so get out, enjoy, whether you're going to the CNA or you're waiting in line for Oasis merch. just make sure you have hydration and sun protection. But everybody benefiting from some high pressure throughout the day. This evening, fairly seasonal across the board, so again, comfortable for spending some time outdoors. Not much in the way of active weather today, but we are watching a system sitting in northern Ontario that will eventually push in. We're likely to stay relatively dry until kind of the midpoint of the weekend. And also Hurricane Erin not impacting us here in Ontario, but if you have any family members out on the East Coast, obviously keeping an eye on everything there. But right now, no alerts for the hurricane, at least in Canada. As we make our way through the rest of our afternoon, that cloud cover pushes out. Not a lot to write home about. A really beautiful kind of end to the week, and that carries into our Friday as well. We get a few light clouds out there, but overall we stay dry, and temperature-wise it's just above that seasonal point, feeling a little closer to 30. Any active weather tomorrow staying pretty far north, and as you step in towards your weekend, it stays the same. It's as we get into the afternoon, a line of showers making its way kind of just north of cottage country. So again, if you're making the most out of these last few weekends, just keep that in mind. But overall, the GTA staying relatively dry. So if you're maybe heading out to the Argos game on Saturday, again, you won't need the rain gear. Temperature-wise, very seasonal as we head throughout the day. We still have a humidex throughout today, tomorrow, and into the weekend, but we kind of lose it as we head in towards next week with another cool down on the way. But as we head in towards your Friday, it is fantastic. Lots of sunshine, comfortable heat, but just keep in mind if you're spending time outdoors to hydrate, take breaks in the shade, and sun protection is really important. We head into your Saturday, some cloud cover. The chance of showers rolls in late in the day, likely overnight if it comes to fruition at all, but we stay fairly seasonal. It's as we get into Monday that things start to cool down. We dip down to just 19 degrees. Yes, 19 is still nice, but it's not seasonal. We should be around 25 for this time of year. That starts to kind of slowly but surely warm up as we head in towards the middle of next week, but we're not holding on to those daytime highs in the 30s by any means as we kind of wrap up these final few days of August and we get ready to step in towards the start of September. But at least for now, through your Thursday, your Friday, it is sunny, it is seasonal. Get out and enjoy it. Hopefully this helps you plan. Right now, I'll send things back over to Michelle.
It sure does. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
More than 7 years after their deaths, a new arena is opening its doors in Vaughan today, honoring the late Barry and Honey Sherman. The Honey and Barry Memorial Arena is directly connected to the Schwartz-Reisman Center, and it's billed as a state-of-the-art facility. It was fully funded by the Sherman son, Jonathan. The facility is being inaugurated this afternoon with a special ceremony. The event will also feature a park renaming in honor of the Shermans, whose 2017 killings are still under investigation. Organizers say the facility is designed to bring communities together through sport and excellence.
TIFF is out with its final list of honorees for its annual Tribute Awards, honoring outstanding contributions to cinema. TIFF CEO Cameron Bailey announced an additional 7 honorees. They include Canada's own Catherine O'Hara, who will receive the TIFF Norman Jewison Career Achievement Award. She'll be joined by fellow acting icon Idris Elba, who will receive the TIFF Tribute Award in Impact Media, and Channing Tatum will be recognized for his overall body of work as a performer. The awards will be handed out at a gala on September 7th. TIFF runs from September 4th to the 14th, and ticket sales by membership tier are well underway.
Country star Morgan Wallen says he won't be submitting his music for consideration for the 2026 Grammys.
'Cause I got better since you got gone.
Wallen's album, The Problem, is expected to claim the title of the year's best-selling album by far. The singer's team didn't say why they weren't submitting, although his music hasn't gotten a lot of love from the Recording Academy to date, with 1 nomination last year. Toronto's own The Weeknd spent a few years boycotting the Grammys, citing concerns about transparency and how decisions around the awards are made.
As the start of a new school year is fast approaching, many parents will be preparing to send kids back to the classroom. But that should include an eye test. Details on why after the break.
If you're in the midst of getting the kids ready for back to school, here's an idea. Check their eyes.
As our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, eye exams are covered by OHIP, but surprisingly, few kids take advantage of the service.
If I had not seen an issue in Nash's eye, it would never have been on my radar to take him to get an eye exam so early in his life.
In fact, only 17% of infants or toddlers get their eyes checked. And in school children, the number is only slightly better, 33%.
So we recommend that children start getting their eyes checked at 6 months of age and then annual from 2 years old onwards. And in Ontario, OHIP covers eye exams for children 19 and under every year.
And Dr. Shaina Nancy says back to school is the perfect time of year to get your kids' vision checked.
There are very serious conditions like eye cancers, or there are sight-threatening conditions like strabismus, which is a wandering eye, or amblyopia, a lazy eye, when one eye doesn't see as well as the other.
For Nash, it was a potentially life-saving checkup with an optometrist that allowed his parents to learn he had an eye cancer called retinoblastoma when he was just 5 months old. Detecting retinoblastoma used to be easier before smartphones came along and reduced the opportunities of seeing something called leukocoria. That's the distinctive eye reflection in photos caused by retinoblastoma.
You can actually recreate that red reflex in the eye if you're using the video mode in a dark room with a forced flash.
But Caitlin Winterink never saw leukocoria in Nash's initial photos, so the checkup was key.
So I recommend that parents go to optom.on.ca, and that is a website where you can find an optometrist near you and just book an appointment.
As for Nash, he was treated with chemotherapy and now gets frequent eye checks, but he's ready to start kindergarten in the fall. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A popular whiskey brand has issued a recall because of the possible presence of glass inside some bottles. The affected product is Crown Royal's Reserve brand, with a label that says the whiskey has been aged 12 years. A recall notice posted by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency says affected items were distributed to several provinces, including here in Ontario, as well as Alberta, BC, and Newfoundland and Labrador. The alert says not to use, sell, serve, or distribute the recalled product. A Waterloo Region landmark is kissing an old chapter goodbye. The historic Kissing Bridge in Woolwich Township is almost 150 years old, but is showing its age.
The bridge will be shut down for more than a year while the region gives it a major makeover. CTV's Heather Sonoran has more.
The Westmont Rose-covered bridge was given the nickname the Kissing Bridge because PDA was frowned upon back in the day when it was built 144 years ago.
When it was only horse and buggies around, that would be the place to kind of sneak a kiss with your partner while traveling and get some privacy.
This out-of-town couple couldn't help but sneak a smooch on the bridge as they celebrate their 21st anniversary with a little adventure.
We bought a little pass called Guess Where Trips, and they do like little itineraries where they send you on like a road trip for the day at different locations, and this was the second stop.
Check it out. The couple made it just in time for the bridge to close for construction. The region, who took ownership of the bridge in the late 90s, calls it a major rehabilitation.
We're going to be strengthening the structures to ensure that it remains safe for many years to come. So we're going to be replacing worn out wood. We're going to be replacing the roof, the siding, the floor system.
The $12 million makeover means the Kissing Bridge will stay closed until the end of 2026.
I'm happy to hear the work is being done finally. I am totally appalled at the length of time that's being proposed.
Hans Podcamper says his trip to the mailbox goes from 600 meters to a 4-kilometer trek with the closure of the bridge. But his biggest concern is with the alternate route, Line 86. He says it will be most difficult for many of his neighbors who are Mennonites.
Well, they can cross the bridge, but there's no allowance. So you've got 90-kilometer-an-hour traffic going past horse and buggies.
The region says the rehabilitation work will maintain its iconic outer appearance, but inside will be a different story.
The old steel support that is currently visible will be removed, and the wooden truss will be exposed and will be the main load-carrying component.
The work ensuring the Kissing Bridge is built to last.
Having it serve as a major tourist attraction and cultural heritage site for many years to come.
Heather Sonoran, CTV News, Woolwich Township.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A new survey suggests post-secondary students are struggling to make ends meet as they head back to class. Ipsos carried out an online poll of 500 Canadians ages 18 to 25 planning to be in post-secondary schooling in September. Nearly half said they feel uncertain about their ability to cover all their expenses, while a similar amount said they feel overly dependent on their parents for financial support. This comes as 78% said they hope to work during the school year. 53% will take out student loans.
The union representing workers at the Canada Revenue Agency is launching an online campaign to denounce staffing cuts. The president of the Union of Taxation Employees says job cuts over the last year have already caused delays, long wait times, and dropped calls. The campaign, named Canada on Hold, aims to get the government to stop the cuts and rehire employees. The union says Ottawa is trying to bring staffing down to pre-pandemic levels, but the CRA was short-staffed at the time. The agency's departmental plan expects the number of full-time employees to drop from nearly 51,000 this year to less than 48,000 by 2028.
Striking uniform members at Toromont Industries in Bradford have rejected a final offer vote forced by the company. According to a news release from the company, 87% voted against it on August 19th. The 120 workers represented by Unifor Local 112 have been on strike since July 8th over fair wages and working conditions. The union says it's now considering first contract arbitration to resolve this dispute. Toromont Industries is one of the country's largest suppliers of large-scale equipment used in farming, construction, and manufacturing.
Gaming is getting more expensive. Sony now says it's raising the price of PlayStation 5 consoles by around $50 in the U.S. This comes after President Trump put new tariffs in place on imports from places like China and Japan. The PS5 Pro will now have a U.S. sticker price of $750. It's priced at just over $1,000 here at home.
NHL players present and past hit the ice in Brampton last night for an annual fundraiser. Leafs captain Austin Matthews leads one of the teams in the game at the CAA Centre. This is all to raise money for the William Osler Health System Foundation. Last year's event raised $14 million.
We got a $2.4 billion project to build our new hospital. Construction started, and as a community, we have to come up with 10% of the cost. So events like this make a world of a difference in making sure we've got great quality health care.
I think it's a little bit more relaxed. Obviously, a lot of alumni, guys that I haven't met before that, was fans of growing up and stuff like that in the locker rooms and whatnot. So it's definitely pretty exciting. I think it's a little bit more laid back, but from my understanding, it gets a little intense out there too.
Austin Matthews also spoke about the departure of Mitch Marner, who was traded to the Las Vegas Knights this summer, as well as the team's outlook heading into next season.
Oh, man, yeah, right to it. We'll obviously miss him. He's a great friend, great teammate. That's kind of the business side of it. That's tough, but obviously I wish him nothing but the best. And, we'll just keep it moving.
How's your summer been?
Summer's been good. Yeah, summer's been good. Thanks.
How do you feel about the next season?
Feeling good. Yeah, obviously a lot of changes, but excited about the guys we brought in. Obviously excited about the guys that we have. I know we got a great team and a great group of guys in the locker room. So looking forward to kind of getting starting. Guys are going to have to take some steps, but I think that's a good thing, a good problem to have. So really looking forward to it.
Now for this event, Matthews captained one team while another Leaf defenseman, Chris Tanev, led the other squad. Team Tanev went on to win 10-9. Oh, live look this hour. Sunshine, not too warm, but not too bad at all. We'll have your forecast when we return.
Top-level soccer players from across the globe are heading to Oslo, Norway this weekend for a competition like no other.
Hundreds of underprivileged athletes will take center stage at what is called the Homeless World Cup. And for the first time in a decade, Canada will be represented. CTV's Tim Brock has more on the national team and its local connection.
It's been a long 10 years, but Canada will soon be back at soccer's Homeless World Cup. Calgarian head coach Ashley Fraser can't wait.
This year there are 48 nations being represented with 63 teams and over 500 players coming. So it's a big year for Canada.
This weekend, 8 Canadian soccer players who are homeless or who have experienced homelessness will don the maple leaf in Oslo, Norway. They've spent the summer practicing and game planning virtually.
Their excitement and their passion is just it's just amazing so far. Everyone is so thankful.
All the players come from the Canadian Street Soccer Association, which has chapters across the country. Its goal is to use sport as a tool for inclusion and empowerment and to draw attention to housing and poverty issues.
For folks that have traditionally been excluded in our society, have faced immeasurable hardships, to have a place where they can also belong and feel like they're a part of a team and feel like they're accomplishing something. We would wish that upon everybody.
Midfielder May Nakintu got her start in Toronto.
I came across a poster at the shelter and I went over to the place, to the field, and found there different people playing, and I joined them.
Humble beginnings that will soon take the global stage. Excited is an understatement.
Even up to now, at times I have to shake myself and ask myself if this is a dream. I just feel so nice.
Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
All right, one last look at the forecast, and it seems like a pretty good start to the day.
Honestly, this is the picture-perfect summer day. When you open the textbook, very seasonal, you get the sunshine, a little bit of warmth without it being too hot, and just that hint of a humidex. But if you're spending time outside today, you'll need still the hydration because we're holding on to a decent amount of warmth and that high UV index. Lots of sunshine, though, this afternoon. Right now, sitting at 22, feeling like 26, and we get up to a daytime high pretty close to that seasonal mark. Again, we're very comfortable over the next few days, but there is another cool down on the way next week, so make the most if you're Thursday to Sunday before we get back to those fresher temperatures.
All right. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.